So when you say contemporary world, it is ever-changing mix of social and political changes. While religious, political, and ethnic conflicts continue, we are currently living in one of the most peaceful eras in the history of the planet. So contemporary world, it is the world that we are living today. The world that we are enjoying today. So, sino yung madalas kumain dito sa fast food chain before nag-pandemic or kahit during pandemic? Why some of us guys or most of us patronize this kind of products or things? Well, it is because we are living in the modern world. It is the contemporary world that we have right now. So, for us to further understand what is happening in the contemporary world, let us define globalization first. Okay, just a minute, guys. So, it is important to study globalization because understanding the contemporary is an essential part of being an informed citizen. Understanding globalization is a very important part of learning about our human involvement with the environment and society, how we can contribute to the development of our society. Because we are part of the society, our daily experiences, sa school, sa work, sa home, these are all integral part of the globalization process. So the concept of understanding globalization provides us with the tools necessary to be productive members of our local and global communities. So, one purpose of studying globalization is for us to understand the differences and similarities of different cultures and to understand how we are connected and at the same time separated from the world. So, is there any foreigner student here or lahat kayo Filipino? Globalization can be described as a process by which the people of the world are unified into a single society and function together. A combination of economic, technological, sociocultural, and political forces. So again, it is about the interconnectedness or interaction of people and business across the world. Well, globalization basically, it is a word used to describe the growing interdependence of the world's economies and then yung cultures, also population that brought about by cross-border trade in goods and services, technology, and flows of investment, people, and information. So guys, if you think wala tayong connection sa other country, makakanood ba kayo ng Netflix?
No po, ma'am.
Okay,
No, ma'am.
makakalaro ba kayo ng Mobile Legends?
Hindi po, ma'am.
Po.
Okay, so sa tingin nyo, makakain nyo ba, ma-enjoy nyo ba ang McDonald's if we don't have or we cannot connect to other nationality? Na-enjoy nyo ba yung mga fast food chain na galing sa ibang bansa?
Hindi po.
Okay, good. Because that is one of the advantage or good effect of globalization. So the most common example of globalization for us to easily understand what is the true meaning of it is the Nutella, which gets its ingredients from several different countries combined into one delicious product. We also have other things such as computers, smartphones, TVs, cars, the list goes on and on. Well, terrorism is also globalized. So, in terms of technology, for an instant, okay, let's select one. Let's have Jeffrey.
Ma'am,
Okay. Saan made yung cellphone mo? Or ano munang brand ng cellphone mo?
Realme po, ma'am.
Ha?
Realme po.
Realme, okay. Saan yun made? Made in? Mababasa mo ba ngayon?
Tignan ko po, ma'am. Ang made. Hmm.
Ano daw yung
Wait po, ma'am.
Okay, for example na lang, it is made from, let's say, Japan. So, since technology nga ito. But you will not, or you cannot sure if lahat ba ng parts ng cellphone na yan ay galing mismo sa Japan. Because maybe some of those parts were came from Germany, Korea, ano pa yung mga bansa na kilala din sa technology. Vietnam also. So, pwede siyang for example, yung screen, yung LCD, or yung battery came from Korea. And then yung ano pa bang parts as po? Yung let's say
Charger.
speaker. Yung charger, okay. Yung charger galing, let's say, Germany.
China.
China, okay. But it was assembled in Japan. So, nagets nyo yung point, guys. Yung product na yun, hindi yun mabubuo without the interconnectedness or interconnectedness of different countries. You get the point?
Made in China po, ma'am.
Okay, made in China. So, anong naiisip nyo kapag sinabing made in China?
Galing China, ma'am.
Of course,
Local
galing
daw pag
China,
galing
made in
China.
China. Ha?
Madali daw masira.
Okay. So,
Local
well,
po daw pag sa China.
well, okay, let's get that. Sige, sabihin natin, sabi nyo nga, madaling masira. But, guys, take note, hindi porket made in China yan, lahat ng parts yan ay galing ng China. Okay, as I said, yung ibang parts yan, possible na galing Japan, Germany, Korea, which are countries that also known for technology. Okay, yung
China po ba?
ha?
China
China.
po. Kasama po China.
Mm-mm. So, yun, hindi porket made in China siya, sabihin na nating madaling masira. Kasi nga, hindi nyo din sure na lahat ba ng parts na yan galing sa China. You get the point, guys.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. So this creates a whole new avenue for trade when the US has to pay for certain parts from around the world, wait for them to be shipped, and then resume localized production. So let's say yung smartphone nga na yan made in Japan, yung phone na yan, not necessarily na Japan lang ang makikinabang or China lang ang makikinabang. Kasi yung other parts niyan galing sa ibang bansa. So kada mabibili ng marami yung brand na yan, makikinabang din yung isang bansa. Okay? Gets nyo yung point, guys? Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
Andradam, explain me. Can you give me some example?
Ma'am, pakiulit po yung question po.
Can you give me another example of globalization like the one I discussed earlier?
Trading po, ma'am.
Trading, yes, correct. Trading, ano yung use ng trading sa globalization?
Pagpapalit-palit ng mga ma'am, technology. Pag-share nila ng mga iba't ibang mga basta iba't ibang mga
Iba't ibang
gamit para
product.
mabuo yung isang product.
Okay, good. So it's part of contemporary world. Even your your choice of clothing. Sino yung mahilig sa polo shirt? I'm sure most of
Come on.
you, yes, good. I'm sure most of you mahilig sa polo shirt. So did you know na galing yun sa US? So kung hindi tayo open for globalization,
Yes, ma'am. Tas sa
siguro
Germany
ngayon,
din.
Germany, yes. Siguro hindi tayo open sa if hindi tayo open sa globalization, siguro nakabarong pa kayo ngayon. Like, yung parang saya-saya pa. So, we have two tasks of globalization. First is broad and inclusive, and the other one is narrow and exclusive. So from the word itself, guys, broad is wide, okay? Mas malawak yung sakop ng globalization. So this is the process of integrating nations and peoples politically, economically, and culturally into a larger community. So it describes the opportunity by which the people or factors behind a certain development in a country benefits as well. It gives everyone a chance to participate in the management in such a way that the perspectives or plans or a country have been reflected in their policies. So this also leads to a more secured and opportunities by and benefits for everyone. So let's say, for example, ito yung sa bansa natin. So ang tendency, if we have a broad and inclusive globalization, um, nakikipag-connecta tayo sa ibang bansa. So we have the interconnectedness, meaning we are open to get influenced by others sa lahat ng aspects, politically, economically, culturally, or kahit ano para mas mapalawak pa yung development ng society natin. Okay, so the advantages of broad and inclusive globalization, if open tayo sa ibang bansa, we will have secured and equal opportunities for everyone kasi kinikater natin yung participation ng lahat, kahit yung mga other nationality na pumupunta dito. Okay? So that's why makikita nyo marami ding turista kasi nga open tayo. Of course, growth for the countries kasi since open tayo, guys, in terms, for example, again, technology, hindi natin ma-develop ang technology natin if we do it ourselves. 'Di ba? Kung Filipino lang ang gumagawa nun, sa tingin nyo, ganyan kagaganda yung mga mobile phones nyo?
Hindi po, ma'am.
Hindi, ma'am.
Okay.
Hindi po, ma'am.
Well, we are also intelligent, but of course, kilala din tayo kasi sa magaling makisama. So, kaya yung development din natin is, alam niyo, nag-update din day by day. So, of course, another advantage is development of the nations. So, ang downside naman ng broad and inclusive task of globalization is the reshaping of government institutions to cater for everyone. Since open tayo sa iba, kailangan yung government natin, bago sila magpatupad ng rules or policies, dapat i-consider muna nila if ma-affect ba yung mga foreigners na nandito sa atin, if ma-affect ba nun yung interconnectedness natin sa ibang bansa. Like for example, nung nagka-COVID case na dito sa bansa. Sa tingin nyo, bakit hindi agad sinara ni President Digong yung borders natin? Any reason? Kasi possible na ma-affect yung yung connection natin sa China. So again, kinonsider pa rin ni President yung magiging effect nun sa atin. Since aware naman tayo lahat, 'di ba, na marami sa mga business dito sa Philippines are owned by Chinese people, our friends from China, tama?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, yeah, ako, witness talaga ako doon kasi my previous boss, since I was in the corporate world before, so Chinese yung mga naging boss ko and luckily naman mabait naman sila. So if sinara ni President agad yun, so baka magtampo. I guess one of the reason why kaya hindi niya agad yun pinasara. But look at the effect now, 'di ba? So yeah, reshaping of government institutions, lagi nilang iniintindi yung iba din. Next disadvantage is economic process need to be reorganized. Of course, yeah, as I said, everyone should be considered. Social processes require weak organization, and failure to focus on the country's own people and policies. So another example, another disadvantage daw is hindi na natututukan ng government yung development ng own people niya tsaka policies kasi nga sa pagko-consider ng ibang nationality or ibang country. There, the broad and inclusive task of globalization. Now let's go to the narrow and exclusive. So again, pag broad, malawak. Pag narrow, of course, limited siya. Restricted siya. Kumbaga, may limitations, may harang, may barriers. Kasi, pinofocus lang nun within a group, area, or people. So, in terms of globalization, it means that the focus of it will be limited to the country alone. So, contradict siya sa broad and narrow and inclusive, of course. So, advantages of narrow, it focuses on the development of the country. 'Di ba? Sabi ko nga kanina, kapag ka broad, ang isang disadvantage nun is failure to focus on the country's own people. While sa narrow, makaka-focus tayo ng development sa country, sa culture, sa mga products natin. Mapreserve natin yung culture in a way na hindi siya ma-influensyahan ng iba. Kasi nga, walang pumapasok since it is limited. Okay? Next is enhancement of the policies in a country. Since it only focus sa mga tao ng bansang yon, mas ma-enhance pa yung policies na nakikater yung mga tao lang doon. So of course, supported by people and gives importance to the people and the cultures inside the country. So ang downside naman ng narrow is results to trade wars with other countries. For example, ang Philippines, kung nalimitahan natin ang globalization natin or nag-restrict si President na tayo-tayo lang dapat, pati yung culture natin, yung products natin. Anong magiging results nun? Magkakaroon ng trade wars. Bakit? Kasi kahit sabihin mong maliit ang Philippines, guys, we have natural resources na kailangan ng ibang bansa. Kaya nga, sabihin na natin yung South China Sea or sa Philippine Sea, talagang gustong-gusto yun makuha ng ibang bansa, pinag-aagawan nila kasi sagana tayo sa natural resources. And kung nag-limit pa tayo lalo, kung nag-restrict tayo na tayo-tayo lang, mas lalong magagalit yung mga yun, di ba? Kasi hindi na sila makakakuha ng product sa atin. Narrow and exclusive globalization. Another disadvantage is failure to establish connections with other countries. Okay, now we have metaphors. So just a review, guys, metaphors is a figure of speech in which a word or phrase denoting one kind of object or action is used in place of another to suggest a likeness or analogy between them. So please do not use the literal word, okay? Para ma-understand nyo. So sabi dito, meron daw 3 metaphors of globalization. We have the solidity, liquidity, and the flow. Okay, ang solidity, kindly read. So it refers to barriers that prevent or make. So solids can either be natural or man-made. Example of natural solids are landforms and bodies of water. So, natural solids, bakit? Ang ibig sabihin sa solid, parang nabe-break niya yung connection ng bawat isa or ng, let's say, country. For example, Philippines, di ba? Wala tayong katabi na bansa na kadikit talaga ng bansa natin. Lahat is napapaligiran ng bodies of water. So, this is one form of barriers para sa globalization daw natin. So for you to understand more, ang example naman ng man-made barriers is yung Great Wall of China and um, walls between Berlin Wall. Berlin Wall. That is wall between the East Berliners and Western Berliners. So before, there was a more fluid relationship between East and West Berlin prior to the erection of the wall. So let's say ito yung buong Berlin people. And then ito yung wall ng Berliners. So nung tinatag na itong Berlin Wall, hindi na makaka-influence yung mga nasa West sa East. So wala na silang forms of communication since nagkaroon na ng barriers. Once the wall was erected, the relations between West and East Berliners were virtually frozen in place. Sabi nila, they solidified and there was a comparatively little movement of anything between them. Another form of solid for you to understand is when it comes to information, ang solid form nun is yung mga books. Have you seen someone who reads book or two-person reads book at the same time? Okay, let's go now to liquidity. Refers to the increasing ease of movement of people, things, information, and places in the contemporary world. So after all, liquids flow easily, far more easily than solids. In fact, it is the concept of flows that is widely used in the literature on globalization. So, for example ngayon sa information, kung dati sa solid form siya, sa books, sige sabihin na natin, dalawa kayo makakapagbasa ng information or ng stories at the same time. Pero kayong dalawa lang yung pwede. Tama? But nung nagkaroon na ng liquid form, mas marami na yung makaka-access sa information. So, ang liquid form na nandito, sabi nila is the television. So, nung TV ba, isa lang yung pwedeng manood? Dalawa lang ba? Okay. So, mas wide na yung audience ng information. Everyone can have an access for that certain movie or news, diba? And then, the flows are the movement of people, things, places, and information brought by growing ferocity of global limitations. So after all, liquids flow easily, far more easily than solids. In fact, it is the concept of flows that is widely used in the literature on globalization. So ito yung parang movement na. Basta it's just the movement nitong dalawa. Nung naging liquid na yung solid. And then, another one is, for me, dapat we have to add one more metaphor, which is the gas. Kasi we already have the virtual world, internet. Kung ang television, okay, let's say mas wide nga yung audience niya. Pero ang internet, sa tingin nyo, mas wider?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Kasi ang television, guys, syempre nakukuha lang yan sa signal. Kung dito lang yan sa Philippines, yun lang yung makakasaga. Filipino lang yung makakanood. But when it comes to in a virtual world, in just one click, if you post a story, you post a news, kahit yung mga ibang nationality, nakikita agad yan. Tama? Napaka-wide ng audience and you have to use it very wise. Sabi nga nila, think before you click kasi mas marami yung audience nun. And just to give you an insight then or idea, if you were familiar with libel case, sinong medyo may idea sa libel case? Anyone? Let's go now to globalization theories. First, we have the cultural homogeneity. So, for this theory, ang globalization daw is one will dominate the clash. We have hegemony term. ito yung pinakamalakas na bansa economically, socially, politically. So that one certain country will dominate the clash. So for example, dito is Philippines and United States. So ang pangit kasi ng term din na clash, yeah. So let's have meet. Parang nung nag-meet sila or pumunta dito yung mga Amerikano, 'di ba? Sino yung nag-dominate? Of course, United States kasi sila yung mas makapangyarihan. Kumbaga, yeah, mas powerful nga sila in terms of economic, social things, and also in terms of their political aspects, 'di ba? Mas malakas sila. So here, US will be our hegemony. For example, our clothing for an instant. Filipino in the past used to wear traditional clothes and polo shirts originated in US. So nung nag-meet sila, magkakaroon ng clash or magtatagpo sila and merong isa na magdo-dominate at yun ang masusunod. We can also call this as cultural imperialism. Imperialism kasi mas may nagdo-dominate, which is the US. Nagets niyo ba yung cultural homogeneity? Another example of cultural homogeneity is homogenization. For example, si McDonaldization, the principles of the fast food restaurant, efficiency, calculability, predictability, and control are coming to dominate more and more sectors of recent. So Americanization, assimilation of American values, customs, and beliefs. So agree kayo na na-dominate na let's say na-invade na tayo ni McDo. Tama ba?
Yes, ma'am.
Clear? Bakit mo nasabi?
Marami na pong McDo dito sa Philippines.
Diba? Anywhere sa Philippines talagang pinapatronize natin ang McDo. So that's a great example of cultural homogeneity, Americanization. Well, in a good way naman, marami talagang naitulong ang American culture sa atin. Mas nag-improve tayo in fairness, in terms of, in all aspects naman. Next, we have cultural homogeneity. Heterogeneity, sorry. So it is multicultural society, which means region culture was widely disseminated and accepted by other societies. And meanwhile, enhance the cultural diversity in local societies. So, diversity, meaning napaka-wide, napakarami. So, maraming na-create na another aspect or another things kapag nag-meet ang dalawang bansa or dalawang forces. Ang example dito is when it comes to music, Korean traditional music and United States pop culture, nung nag-meet sila, dahil sa pagka-clash or pag-meet nila ng mga dominant aspects or sectors, kasi let's say, itong US pop culture, malakas din talaga yan eh. So, possible din na maging hegemony siya. Magdo-dominate siya if mas mahina yung ka-clash niya. And same as Korean traditional music. Diba? So, kung nag-combine tong dalawa na to ng mga dominant aspects or sectors, may makre-create sila na panibagong sector. Kaya doon lumabas yung K-pop. Cultural hybridization. It means mixing of cultures and integration of the global and the local leading unique combination. Hybrid, yung root word niya, which means something that is mixed, and hybridity is simply a mixture. So the process by which a cultural element blends into another culture by modifying the element to fit cultural forms. So yung Korean traditional music, minodify niya yung pagka-traditional music niya para makapag-blend siya sa United States culture. Inadapt niya yung pop music ng United States. That's why they created a new different music or music genre. Next, we have globalization. It is a combination of the words globalization and localization. The term is used to describe a product or service that is developed, distributed locally, globally, but is also adjusted to accommodate the user of consumer in a local market. So, yeah, kanina, diba, kapag minix mo sila, may panibagong makikreate. Pero dito sa globalization, literal na combination siya. United States fried chicken and Filipino rice, it is a combo of fried chicken and rice. Cultural differentialism involves barriers. Again, kapag ka may barriers, hirap ang aspects or terms na iba or culture na makapasok sa isang culture. Like say, ang ano dito is religion. Those who adopt this theory argue that there are lasting differences among and between cultures, largely unaffected by globalization or another by inter, multi, and transcultural process and flows. So, to these events, as the product of clash between Western and Islamic culture as seemingly eternal differences between them. So, Samuel Huntington's Clash of Civilization. So, ito yung example niya, the Western, Cynic, and Islamic. Kapag ka nag-meet yung mga yan, hindi siya, walang magdo-dominate. Wala ding mapo-form na another religions. Ang tendency nito, according to Huntington, is a clash, a war. Okay? So, the most famous and controversial example of cultural differences is this theory. So, according to Huntington, he differentiates among 7 or 8 world civilizations. Yun nga, yung kabilang na yung Cynic, Japan, Hindu, Islamic, Orthodox, Western Europe, North America, Latin America, and Africa. So Huntington sees this civilization as differing greatly on basic philosophical assumptions, underlying values, social relations, customs, and overall outlooks on life. So sabi ni Huntington, conflict will occur at the fault lines among and between civilization, especially these three. Yun nga, Western, Cynic, and Islamic. Thus, he foresees dangerous clashes in the future between these three religions. He argues that wherever Muslims and non-Muslims live in close proximity to one another, violent conflict and intense antagonism are pervasive. So, is there any Muslim here? Okay, this theory has been critiqued for a number of reasons. Kaya siya naging controversial. Kasi it portrays that a Muslim is being prone to violence, which is, as based on my point of view, no, not every Muslim naman, not all of them. Parang sa atin din lang, na mga Christians, meron at meron ding mababait, meron ding may mga may attitude. So, it's not about the religion. Do you agree with me? I'm sure may mga friends din kayo na Muslim, di ba? Tama?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Huntington's belief that Islam has been the religion of sword and conquest. So, kaya siya naging controversial. Kasi yun nga. But the thought lang nitong cultural differentialism is yun nga, magka-clash siya kapag nag-meet yung iba't ibang religion. Okay? Next, we have cultural converge. So this theory that two cultures will be more and more like each other as their interactions increase. So basically, ang thought nito, the more that cultures interact, the more that their values, ideologies, behaviors, arts, and customs will start to reflect each other. So ang
Wait.
example ng cultural convergence dito, guys, is ang Ilocano, kunwari nag-aaral sila dito sa Dagupan face-to-face, like say for example ako, kapag matagal mong makakasama yung ibang may dialect, parang maa-adapt mo yung ano nila, the way they live. simply sa sa intonation nila, 'di ba? Ma-adapt niyo yung mga ganon.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
ma'am.
yung mga expression ng other um, may other dialect, 'di ba? So ako, nag-work ako before sa Metro Manila, and then ang dami kong naka-work din, mga Bisaya, ayan, Ilocano, Pangasinense, hindi yung mga Kapampangan. So basically, sila na-appreciate ko yung culture nila din, the way they cook, lalo yung mga Kapampangan, ma-appreciate mo sila. That's why you will adapt. And that is example of convergence. Okay? So in terms of technology, for example, enables people from different countries to have immediate access to new ideas and cultural identities. In terms of language, prime example, cultural convergence on a global stage. So in terms of celebrating sports, a sporting event is a culture of its own. Sports being together people from all cultures that understand and appreciate the game. So nung Olympics, makikita nyo si Heidi Diaz nung nanalo, first ever gold medal that we have. So kung makikita niya yung mga comments sa kanya, pati yung mga other nationalities, they appreciate the talent of Filipino. Tama? Origin and history of globalization. First, we have the hardwired. Please read, guys. Yes, correct. Sabi dito, yung hardwire, kaya daw tayo kaya tayo ng globalization dahil meron tayong nature as a human to seek a better life. Kayo ba, okay na kayo sa life nyo ngayon?
Ma'am, no.
Hindi pa, ma'am.
No. Yeah, ASCII, why? Bakit hindi pa satisfied?
Ma'am, kasi hindi pa natutupad yung mga pangarap namin, ma'am.
Yes, ASCII, sorry, Jordan, thank you. So yun, sabi niya, yung globalization, kaya daw tayo nande-develop pa kasi nga may basic needs tayo na, yun nga, umunlad pa at hindi tayo makontento. Well, in a good way, na hindi tayo makontento sa kung ano meron tayo ngayon. Okay? Well, may good effect naman yun kasi we are looking for better life, kaya nagsisig pa tayo ng development. Well, that's good. Now we have a cycle. Cycle, sabi niya, globalization is paulit-ulit lang. Kumbaga, paulit-ulit lang, pero once na nag-reappear ulit yung that kind of culture, kumbaga may bago lang na naidagdag. Let's say, for example, is the fashion. Di ba, paulit-ulit lang yan? May some modification lang from the past. It should be noted that the global age today will be replaced by new cycle of globalization in the future. Agree ba kayo doon? Epoch. Read their cited their words in epochs. Rian, kindly off your mic. These are also called waves, and each epoch has its own origin. Today's globalization is not unique if this is the case. So, compare lang natin yung cycle daw paikot-ikot, yung kaya nagkaroon ng globalization. While dito sa epoch, sabi nila, ang globalization daw may uniqueness each waves or each year, each century. Ang example dito is yung bi-century nga. So the fourth to seventh centuries daw, which witnessed the globalization of religion. So nung 4th to 7th century, ang mga nag-develop is yung iba't ibang religion. And then the late 15th century, ito na yung European conquest, yung pagsasakop, yung pagpupunta na ng mga European sa iba't ibang bansa. So kaya tayo na-influence ng culture nila. And then 18th at 19th century, during various intra-European wars led to globalization since unti-unti na nilang nasasakop, as I said, na-influence na nila at na-adapt na ng mga bansa na pinuntahan nila. The mid-19th century to 1980, the heyday of European imperialism. When you say heyday, guys, ito na yung success ng pagsasakop nila. So, marami na silang na-influence in terms of cultures, in terms of their language. Siguro yung iba na-adapt na rin. So another is the post-World War II period and the post-Cold War period. So basically, ang thought lang nito is epoch, nakadepende sa waves or sa time ang globalization. It's just a review. I'm no longer going to discuss its century further kasi napag-aralan nyo na rin yan sa high school nyo. And I'm sure pati sa senior high school nyo may review na rin. Tama? Yung thought lang ng epoch ang pag-aaralan natin. And again, yung globalization daw, sabi sa events, ang theory sa event, ang globalization daw nakadepende naman sa mga nangyari. Well, it seems same lang siya sa epoch. Ang pagkakaiba nga lang, hindi siya per time. Ito talaga naka-focus siya sa mga event na nangyari. First, we have first is yung Roman conquest centuries before Christ were its origin, yung pananakop daw ng mga Roman. So ito yung nagpalaganap din ng religions na ng Christianity. Several points can be treated as the start of globalization. So, Genghis Khan, sino yung makakapag-review sa atin sa Genghis Khan? Sige nga, kung nag-aral kayo ng high school nyo, I think pati elementary, pinag-aaralan na to. Okay, basically, ito yung mga pananakop lang na ginawa ni Genghis Khan. So, Rosenthal gave premium to voyages of discovery. Christopher Columbus' discovery of American in 1942. Ayan, yan daw nag-start yung globalization sa pananakop din ni sa pag-discover ni Columbus sa America in 1942. Parang nagbigay daan yun sa kanya para makapag-influence din sa mga tao doon sa mga paniniwala nila. And another is the Vasco da Gama sa pag-discover niya ng Cape of Good Hope noong 1498. Ferdinand Magellan completed circumnavigation of the globe in 1522. In recent years, could also be regarded as the beginnings of globalization with reference to specific technology advances in transportation and communications. So, possible din na ang globalization daw, sabi, yung theory na to is dahil sa pag-advance ng communication and transportation. Again, ano yung broad and inclusive class of globalization? For example, in transportation, so mas napalawak na yung access natin sa information and communication. Okay, first transatlantic telephone cable, 1956. Ayan yung cable, hawak-hawak pa nila para lang magkaroon ng access ng communication. First transatlantic television broadcast noong 1962. Ayan. So, mas lumawak na yung nakaka-access ng mga news, ng mga stories dahil sa pag-discover ng television broadcast. The founding of the modern internet, 1988. Mas terrorist attacks on the Twin Towers in New York.